On the evening of Wednesday, November 26, 2008, India's financial capital Mumbai came under sustained attack by 10 armed gunmen. The assailants targeted locations across the south of the city. In the 60 hours that followed, a real-life action drama unfolded on TV screens across the world. This was the first time that India had seen such well-coordinated attacks on such a wide scale. A month after the attack was over, the ramifications of the incident are still playing out in the region. I'm Divya Gopalan. In this special edition of 101 East, we look back at the Mumbai Siege and ask, what made the world's largest democracy so vulnerable to attacks, and how are things going to change for India? In the aftermath of the Mumbai attack, India's largest city struggles to make sense of its latest tragedy, likened by many as India's 9/11. One of the most dramatic battles during the siege took place here at the Taj Hotel, the very symbol of Mumbai's wealth and success. Now, while the battle for the Taj is clearly over, for Mumbai and the rest of India, another struggle begins.
This attack has exposed the fault lines of Indian security as nothing ever has in the past. We as a nation stand naked.
It is new to Bombay, certainly. The policemen here didn't even expect an attack of this type.
But Mumbai is not new to major terror attacks. In 1993, a series of 13 explosions ripped through the city, killing more than 250 people and injuring hundreds more. It was believed the blasts were in revenge for the killing of Muslims in India. 10 years later, Mumbai was hit again by 2 blasts, including one near the gateway of India. This attack claimed 46 lives. The next attack on Mumbai came in 2006, when 7 blasts on suburban trains killed more than 200 people. A Pakistan-based Islamic militant group, Lashkar-e-Taiba, is believed to be responsible for the latter 2 attacks. As the investigation into the 26/11 incident unfolds, once again a Pakistan link has emerged. Indian sources have revealed the 10 gunmen boarded a merchant vessel in Karachi before intercepting an Indian trawler Kuber on the high sea. November 26th, the day of the attacks, also happened to be the day of the England-India cricket match. So most people were indoors watching television when the attackers landed here in a rubber dinghy boat. Now, this is just 1 kilometer away from the heart of the city where the attacks took place. They landed here, laden with explosives, walked past these fishermen's houses, and walked straight into the darkness of the night. One local resident in the fishing colony saw the attackers coming to shore.
They got rid of their jackets and left in the boat. And then they put rucksacks on their shoulders. They were carrying bags which looked quite heavy. They stopped there, chatted to one another, they shook hands, and then they did this.
Once on shore, the gunmen split into 4 groups. They took taxis from the waterfront to their targets across the city and planted bombs in the taxis, which exploded later. 2 gunmen headed for the central railway station. Footage captured by CCTV at the station showed them carrying AK-47 machine guns. The assailants opened fire indiscriminately, killing 54 people. Not even the police rushing to the scene were able to stop them.
I have witnessed the horror happened, and due to lack of sophisticated weapons, we need that type of weapons. They have brought no that sophisticated weapons. That policeman has not supplied that type of weapons. There is a main problem. If they have provided enough, they can face that problem.
From the railway station, the two gunmen went on a shooting rampage in a stolen car. They were intercepted by the police as their car approached the seafront. In the shootout that followed, one of the gunmen was killed, the other arrested. Meanwhile, gunfire was heard across the city at Leopold, a popular cafe in Colaba, the tourist hotspot in South Mumbai. The owner of the cafe was in the bar upstairs when terror struck.
I couldn't see what was happening. The only thing what I could see is, like when the bullets were being fired, I could see the sparks. Because all of a sudden, first thing was my customers, when they ducked, even I ducked.
Everybody was in a state of panic.
Wasif Sayed, a shop owner, witnessed the shooting from his balcony overlooking the cafe.
I saw those two people coming this side and taking their positions and started firing indiscriminately here, and I saw a lot of people who actually came outside Leo's falling here.
The cafe manager was on duty that night.
When I saw that gunman, he just aimed at me with a haversack behind him and just aimed at me. So I just dodged myself. One of the bullets brushed it. I ran myself.
I thought I was watching a movie, Hollywood gangster movie, some sort of movie. It was really shocking. I never dreamt that something so wild would happen in Colaba. So wild,
But such wild scenes were repeated across Mumbai later that night, when gunfire and explosions ripped through two luxury hotels, the Taj Mahal and Oberoi Trident. The Taj Hotel, the city's most prestigious landmark, was emerging as one of the focal points of the crisis. As the Indian Army moved in, the first images of the battle were captured by TV crews.
All right, there you go. You heard a big blast outside right now inside the Taj Hotel.
The chaos also spread to Nariman House compound, a Jewish center nearby. There, the gunmen took several hostages, including the Israeli rabbi and his family. Puran Doshi, a jeweler who lives in the area, witnessed the shooting.
When I heard the shots, I came running down from here, and I saw one boy had fallen down already from here, and that is the first shots were fired from Nariman House from the terrace into this lane. As we entered the compound, a grenade was thrown on us. Immediately we realized that it's bad, it's very bad for us.
It quickly became clear that the attack had been meticulously planned and on a far larger scale than the city had ever seen. As dawn approached, with the siege continuing, questions were already being asked about the security apparatus.
You have the Indian Navy supposed to be guarding the high seas. You have the Coast Guard, which is supposed to be guarding the internal line. You're supposed to have a Marine Police. You're supposed to have the local police. You're supposed to have so many intelligence agencies working, keeping a watch here and there. But all these agencies, they fail comprehensively.
Yet the 26/11 attack was not the first time that the threat to Mumbai came by sea. In the 1993 bombing, which devastated the city, weapons were also transported by boat.
The entire consignment of RDX, the AK-47s, the ammunition, the grenades, everything came to the sea. In 1993 also there was a talk of beefing up security across the strait, but nobody bothered. Reports after reports were submitted. They just gathered dust.
And it seems the police weaponry too was gathering dust.
Mumbai police is saying that we do not have sufficient equipment to deal with terrorism. We have never dealt with the terrorism over there. We have got old World War II vintage .302 rifles with which we can't fight with AK-47. But the question is, who stopped you from acquiring these kind of sophisticated weapons?
But whatever was lacking in equipment, the commandos made up for with their tenacity and courage.
The boys did a wonderful job. It couldn't have been better. And I take my hats off to these boys who, without any information, without any intelligence, without knowing the layout of the target, went in almost blindfolded.
As darkness fell over the city, fighting continued into a second night. Several assailants were reported to have been killed during the ongoing gun battle. A spokesman for the Special Forces later made it clear that the attacks had been meticulously planned.
I understand that these terrorists were very well informed regarding the layout of the hotel. We found a rucksack which contained dry fruits for survival, large amount of ammunition, foreign money. They had dollars.
Early on Friday morning, the Indian National Security Guards stepped up its assault on Nariman House by airdropping troops on the roof of the building. By the evening, the third night since the attack began, the siege at Oberoi Trident and Nariman House were declared over. Puran Doshi was the first civilian to go into Nariman House in the aftermath.
The rabbi and his wife were lying in one corner. The two girls were tied and they were lying on the bed inside. There was another gentleman who was on the far end of the hall, and there was another person lying here. Very badly mutilated bodies.
At the Taj Hotel, the battle continued until the next morning. Just before 9 a.m., with the last 3 gunmen shot dead, the attack was finally brought to an end. In the aftermath of the tragedy, mounting evidence also suggested a staggering intelligence failure. India's Central Intelligence Service claimed they sent warnings about an imminent attack on the Taj Hotel and about coastal security. The Mumbai police claimed there was no actionable intelligence. Many observers blame bureaucracy for the security blunder.
There is no single command structure. You have the intelligence bureau, you have the research and analysis wing. They are supposed to have different areas of operation. But then there is nothing to collate the information together, interpret the intelligence.
Under the Constitution of India, law and order, under which the terrorism also is clubbed in, crime, law and order, is a state subject. There is no federal force as it is. So that is why there was none. We kept on telling the leaders, but they never thought that, no, it is all right. Because Indians learn only when they are slapped. This has happened.
During the 3-day rampage that devastated Mumbai, nearly 200 people were killed and hundreds more were injured. But the end of the tragedy would signal increasing tensions across the region. Mumbai, a city of nearly 19 million people, had been brought to its knees by just 10 armed men. But one of them in particular would be of special interest to investigators, the sole survivor. Azam Amir Kasab was arrested hours after the attack began. Photographs of the 21-year-old walking calmly through Mumbai's central railway station with assault rifle in hand have made him a symbol of the attack. Indian authorities believe Kasab is from Faridkot village in Pakistan's Punjab province, and that he, along with all of his accomplices, had been trained in Pakistan by Lashkar-e-Taiba, an Islamic militant group which was banned by the Pakistani government in 2002. In Mumbai, public anger directed at India's neighbor spilled into the streets.
These people here are calling Pakistan thieves and they're blaming them for the terror attacks. This is exactly the kind of thing that is due to affect relations between India and Pakistan. Why are you blaming Pakistan?
Why not? I mean, it's proved. Everything is being done by Pakistan. War option should not also be ruled out. We have to teach them lesson.
As the tension between India and Pakistan escalated, the global ramification of the attacks became clear.
There is urgency to getting to the bottom of it. There is urgency to bringing the perpetrators to justice, and there is urgency to using the information to disrupt and prevent further attacks.
India's anger was now mirrored in the streets of Pakistan.
We demand the Pakistani government to deal with the US and India with courage. We are prepared to give our lives for Pakistan.
In the weeks that followed the attacks, the Pakistani government ordered a crackdown on militant groups, but it has so far refused to hand over suspects to the Indian authorities. Many fear that the standoff between the two neighbors has the potential to completely destabilize the region.
My worst fear is if Pakistan fails, like it appears to be in a precarious position. If we have a failed state next to us, we are in serious problem.
We cannot be talking about bombing Pakistan just now because there are two nuclear powers. And do people have any conception and idea what it means that two nuclear powers going to war? I think there is this whole myth about India as being the India of Nehru and Gandhi, being peace-loving and non-violent, etc. I think we are a very violent nation.
When a violent country gets angry, what will it do?
It could be very vicious. It could be internally vicious and externally mindless.
Within its borders, Indian Muslims fear a backlash in the aftermath of the attacks. Wasif Syed, a Muslim shop owner in Mumbai, was worried as the initial investigation unfolded.
I was just hoping and I was just praying that I hope these guys are not Muslims and they don't have Muslim names.
In Mumbai's Muslim neighborhood of Mahim, residents are not only worried about the shame, but also the blame the attack might bring on their community.
Whenever there is trouble, it's always Muslims who get the blame. Poor people get killed and Muslims get killed. But it's always young Muslim men who are accused. But Hindus are equally to blame.
The Mumbai attack brought to the fore a deep-seated division within India. It was a division which led to the partition of the British Indian Empire in 1947 and saw the birth of the predominantly Muslim Pakistan. And yet, the divisions between India's Hindu and Muslim communities have increased in recent years. In January 1993, violent communal riots broke out in India following the destruction of the Babri Mosque in Ayodhya by a Hindu mob. Nearly 1,000 Muslims were slaughtered. 2 months later, in reprisal attacks, a series of 13 bombs exploded across the city, hitting the Bombay Stock Exchange, Air India building, passport office, and numerous hotels and plazas. The Revenge Act crippled India's financial powerhouse for days, but it also exacerbated the religious divide in Mumbai and beyond.
There was a huge undertone of, okay, you versus us, because of the riots, right? But the bomb blast, and then everything became very hushed. You know, the whole feelings were more of inwards than outward projected.
In the aftermath of the attack, such feelings persist. And India now faces a new challenge as the 2009 general election approaches. The time ahead remains testing for many, who fear that communal sentiment will once again be exploited by party politics. Others, however, are more confident that history will provide answers for the future.
100 years before Islam came through the invaders in the north, we had Islam coming from the traders in the south. So we've had populations negotiating this coexistence, which is not something that 60 years of dirty politics can take away.
But India is a society not only split along religious lines, it's also deeply divided between rich and poor. Mumbai is home to Asia's largest slum, and yet, as the city has developed into a global powerhouse in the last decade, a new nouveau riche class has grown up alongside it. With money, influence, and often a Western education, many of the newly wealthy have grown detached from the day-to-day struggle of the city. But the Mumbai attack has cut across the class spectrum.
I always thought my Mumbai is, untouchable. I don't think there'll be some problem here.
The globalized India has led to, just people more worried about malls than malaria in any place. And so we've become extremely hedonist, extremely self-obsessed. We've just been chasing labels. And I think it's time for us to introspect and say that, life could end like that.
I'd really like to admit here that I think we're very selfish. We're really, really selfish. This time when it's hit Taj and Oberoi, it's hit home. And I know of so many people who haven't come back.
As Mumbai began its soul-searching, much emphasis was placed on the lack of political responsibility among the privileged lot.
So you have a classic cocktail of an indifferent, educated middle class. You have a corrupt bureaucracy, you have an even more corrupt political class. That is why India stands exposed.
But the attack on Mumbai has now mobilized a large number of middle-class citizens who have taken to the streets for the first time.
Tens of thousands
thousands of people are gathering here at India Gate. Mumbai has never seen anything like this before. They say it's a show of mass anger against the government and a system that failed them.
Well, I'm a housewife, but at the same time, now I'm going to devote a hell lot of time towards this campaign. And I want everybody, just everybody to spare little time, whatever little time they can. They have to do for the nation.
It's definitely a high time for change.
There is in the Constitution 1969, 49.0, there is one right to every voter, vote to not to vote. If you feel the candidate is not worth enough, go to your polling booth, go stand over there, cast your vote, but to nobody.
This is a second independence movement. Please, government, wake up. Before we got a nuclear attack on India, please wake up.
Today it is Mumbai's voice, tomorrow it's going to be whole country's voice.
Some people, however, remain skeptical as to how long this passion will last.
India is a much larger country, and there are many Indias within this India. And I think unless you make this movement much larger, it won't sustain.
With so much of priorities related to corruption, the ethical decay which has happened, that will not change so fast.
But change needs to happen for India, and quickly too, if it is to break the recent pattern of deadly attacks on its people.
India needs to take itself seriously. India doesn't do that. This is a nation which has got enormous potential in terms of natural resources, the native intelligence of Indians and Indians' capacity for hard work, their capacity to take risks. We can easily become a superpower.
And there is little doubt that the power of the world's largest democracy lies ultimately in the will of its people.